Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Doing all right. Better than you.
That is
Sorry.
very true. Hey, everybody out there in the world. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal. And just to say something really quick, Mr. Weedman's a little bit run down. His body thinks it's sick.
Mr. Weedman never likes to admit when he's down. He's down right now. He's sick.
I am not sick because I'm
No,
here.
he's not. His body thinks it's sick.
There you go. I'm doing the show,
yes,
aren't I?
He is here.
I'm here.
100%.
And I'm alive. So let's smoke. We're not sharing joints tonight,
No, we
or
are
doinks
not.
tonight. And reason being is because I'm trying to protect Mrs. Weedman from getting the schniffles. The schniffles. And
I don't want it.
I'm smoking Orange Soul that was grown by our friend Big Earl. And it was also, the original seeds came from our friend Trichome Jungle. And it's an indica sativa variety from Trichome Jungle seeds, and can be it's an indoor strain, outdoor strain. It's orange soda and soulmate. I don't really have much more about it. I'm very apologetic about this, but I will tell you this: this smells like being in an orange blossom field. It's that good. And Mrs. Weedman is smoking Stanky Kush Breath, also grown by our friend Big Earl, and that is Stanky Haze and Strawberry Kush Breath mixed together, which is another fantastic strain, and it smells like strawberries. I just can't taste anything right now. I smoked it, I think, last night on the show with Big Earl doing the grow hour. So, Mrs. Weedman, I know your taste buds are not always 100% anymore. So, but tell us what you think when you smoke it. Now,
I
we're
will
both
try.
gonna smoke. We're
I
both
will
gonna
try.
smoke together.
Oh, cheers, Mr. Weedman.
Salute.
Salute.
And, I'm smoking out of Spliff Society wrap, and Mrs. Weedman's smoking out of her 8 Decades
I got
bowl.
my steamroller.
Yeah, our steamroller. And don't forget to check out 8decades.com for all your holiday cannabis needs.
We have 30% off the
30%
entire site.
off the
like
entire
everything.
site.
That means you can get a whole smoke set for $99 or $100. And there's a free shipping code too. So there's like no excuse not to shop.
Yes, you know, plenty
Come
of friends out there
Get some goodies.
that would love an 8 Decades smoke set or the classic
The rolling
jars.
tray. You could buy just the rolling tray. $35.
$35.
Gotta love that shit.
Check out 8decades.com, everybody, and support Mrs. Weedman, a small business owner, female-owned business, woman-owned business, right?
That's right.
That's
all
it.
those
So,
things.
All those things. What did we do this weekend? We had some fun on Saturday. We got to see a really good friend of ours, Carlos, throw down some mixologist drinks at what party did we go to?
We went to Maid Gallery, had a pop-up art event. A lot of the artists were first-time exhibitors. So there was a mixture of glass sculptures, blown glass. There were some textiles. There was kind of some pop art. There was some sculptural art. Just lots of, your typical, I shouldn't say typical. It was a nice arrangement and a nice variety of artwork. We got there, unfortunately, at the very end of that, and then went on to like an after party. But that was everything was hosted by Maid Gallery and Uncle Stu's headquarters, and together they do some really cool things in the cannabis world in Chicago.
Oh, I know what we did earlier that day while we were late getting out there. We went to Cannabis dispensary, and you got to blow your first.
I did.
It sounds
I
kind
got
of funny.
to blow
Sorry.
my first.
Your first. Sorry
I'm
about that.
51.
You got to actually do your own glass chill.
Oh, yes, my first chillum.
You blew your own glass.
I did. I didn't blow anything, actually. I just spun a lot. I spun the glass in the heat. It was actually very cool. They had a different, it was Otto's glass. I think they were out of Cary or McHenry, Illinois. And they were there, and you could make your own one-hitter, a glass one-hitter. Super cool. It was a really fun experience.
I got to enjoy watching you do that. And I did not participate because I was afraid I was going to burn my face. So I got to take pictures and I got to take pictures and watch. The cool thing about that was when you were blowing the glass, and he came behind your glass, and he had silver sparkling through to
the technique to color the glass
Yes.
was super cool.
It was so cool
They
watching
fused
that.
silver, sterling silver, onto the glass with heat. It was a really neat. I had no idea that even happened.
Didn't even know that
It was
existed.
very cool. Right,
Yeah, it was
right.
so cool
It
to
was really
watch
neat.
it turn colors, and your chillum looked really, really cool.
Yeah.
How that silver kind of like spread into the black, because it was black glass, wasn't it?
Yes, it was black glass.
Yeah,
Or
so
like a dark blue
dark,
or purple.
yeah.
It looked black.
It was very interesting watching everybody. There was 2 stations where people can do it, and watching everybody trying to learn the technique and watching
Yeah.
people's glass plop over, and then they just fix it right away. It was neat though.
There was a lot to do. Like there's a lot of movement that's not very natural or necessarily comfortable because it's a new movement. You know, the way that you had to move the glass and roll it between your fingers. And if I've never worked on an open flame that you're that close to and
Yeah.
you're putting your hand super close to. So there was really a lot to think about. And then what I couldn't figure out what to do was my other hand. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my other hand. I like put it on my side. I put it on my hip. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my right hand. So at one point I like tried to reach, and Loki was the guy helping me. He's like, no, that's not a good idea. Like, because just habitually, you know, if you want to manipulate something, if one hand's not doing it, you throw your other hand in there and make it work. Oh my God. So it was a lot. And then some people were stoned. So
Yeah.
some people were really struggling.
Yeah, yeah. It takes a lot of
They
coordination.
were baked and they were trying to follow all these rules. It was funny.
If
It
you-
was a good experience.
Yeah, it was fun. So congratulations, B
B.
and Blue Island, Illinois, for opening up your dispensary. It's very
Yeah.
cool to be there. Thank you for all the fun activities that Mrs. Weedman and Mr. Weedman got to do, and good luck.
Activities.
So much room for them. And then this Saturday, where we're going to be at?
This Saturday. Sorry, I just took another hit.
You did. That was a
A
ripper.
big old ripper. It was good. This Saturday, we are going to Stash in Orland Hills. Stash is going to be having a consumption lounge at the back side of their store. But in that space this weekend, there's going to be a really fun party hosted by Stash. The party is brought to us by Legacy, Illinois. So you can find their tickets to it on their Instagram. It's Legacy IL. And the event is called Holding It Down Underground. And it's their Holiday Bash 23. It's going to be consumption, tons of music. Yeah, lots of weed and lots of fun. I'm
We're gonna
looking
have
forward to
a
it.
rolling station there.
It's from 6 to 10. I don't know how much tickets are. Let's see. I'll click a little button here.
And Mrs. Weeman and I will be having our rolling station there.
Yeah.
And rolling joints for people, or I should say stuffing joints for people.
Stuffing joints.
Or letting you come and play with the smoke set and roll your own joints or stuff your own joints. So we'll have a lot of fun with that. We're looking forward to it.
$20 for tickets.
Oh, wow. For
That's
a night out.
Not bad for a night out.
Yeah.
So get your tickets.
And I've been to a few of the Stash events. I've been to their Halloween one, which was hella fun. And they really did it up nice with all the cool Halloween scariness that happens, during Halloween. And was there for their grand opening event, which was a lot of fun. And this Christmas one is going to be really decked out, I heard, and should be a lot of fun. They put on a good show. And they make sure they do it right. So come check us out. 8 Decades Rolling Station Table.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Come roll a joint with us.
Yeah. I'll have some of my special home grow with me too. So,
Why not, right?
Yep, absolutely. So, what else? Anything else, Ms. Wee Man?
No.
No?
I'm just trying to get my head into Christmas.
It's not beginning to look
the
a lot.
struggle. I always.
You went Christmas shopping yesterday.
I am a procrastinator, which I've recently learned is a sign of, I don't know, like trauma or something stupid. I don't know. I'm a procrastinator. I work really well under pressure. So if I have a whole year to prepare for Christmas, I'm going to be doing it in the last 5 days before Christmas happens. I usually get my stuff mailed out on time. I get it figured out.
Yeah, you do.
So I did go to a mall. Ugh. I don't like to shop at malls, and I don't like to buy mall Christmas gifts, but I just needed to keep it easy this year. So
But you also did something
I got
really
some good,
cool,
good
though.
stuff.
You actually,
but I'm making things
every
too.
year you always try to make something.
Yes.
And you did something this year, too.
Yeah,
You
don't tell. Don't tell.
Well,
I'll show pictures later.
yeah, later after
I'm
Christmas.
making everybody a little personalized ceramic gift.
It's very pretty.
Yeah.
And you always do something nice at Christmas that you make.
I try.
You do. It's great. The one person I'm going to mention that's not a procrastinator and that shopped in July and got it done, because why not? It's Christmas in July, right? Ma 420.
Oh yeah,
She was done.
She's
She was
Christmas
done.
shopping.
She was done in July.
Yes. Yeah, like, what the fuck?
She calls me up and she goes, "I'm done Christmas shopping already." I'm like,
What?
"It's fucking
Why?
July, Ma."
Yeah. And her packages are here already.
They're here
from Florida.
They were here last week.
Yeah, they were here last week. Like, man, she's so organized.
It's nice to be retired.
Oh, it wouldn't matter if she
No,
was
she was
retired or
always
not.
like
She
that.
just you're like that. Him and his mom are
I
two
like getting
peas in a
shit done
pod.
early so I could be fucking. Okay, let's just take the difference real quick. Ready?
Yep. Yep.
I get stuff done early
Yep.
so I can be lazy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm ambitiously lazy. I like to get my shit done quick, easy, fast, and not have to think about it anymore. You procrastinate about it.
And then I build up 50 other things I can do.
Right.
Right.
And then
To avoid doing the thing I need to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then all of a sudden
And then it's like, motherfucker, get out of my fucking way. I got to get this shit done.
You said it exactly.
But I get it done.
But,
And then I smile
I
and
know.
everything's happy.
Right.
Just get out of my freaking
But the
way.
only person
in that moment,
the only
get out of
person
my
that's
way.
in your way is me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because you're like, I would have done it 2 weeks ago. When did you find out you had to get this done? Why'd you wait till the last minute? Do you not know me?
I do.
That's how
30
I
years.
work best.
I know you work best, and I know a few people like you, and they work phenomenal under stress.
It'll be on
and
time.
Pressure.
It'll be done well.
But I'm not like that.
But I might be up till 5 in the morning
Right.
before it's due.
Ugh. You're up to 1:30 in the morning the other night finishing those.
Yeah,
those
I
Christmas
just wanted to crank it
gifts.
out.
I know.
I was
impressive.
in a mode.
I am not saying there's anything wrong with how you work. It's impressive how you work. I'm just not built that way.
I do a lot of things.
You do. It's
I do.
impressive.
I got a lot.
I get impressed. When she's done with it, after I make the snotty little comment, but I know she's going to get it done because it aggravates her even more. And then she gets it really done well.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's a motivation that she uses. So
You feel the daggers? Because I do get a little crazy at the end. I'm not a screamer or yeller.
no.
I just like.
Oh fuck!
it's-
No, you're not.
No, it's more like just get out of my way, leave me alone. I need to get in my mode, and I got to get shit done.
Yuki and I will be upstairs.
Yeah,
See you later.
Go away. I don't know how to delegate. There's nothing that you can do to help me. Just back off. Let me
Even
work.
asking if you need help, there's still like no.
No.
Nope.
No, because I don't know how to. In the time
Delegate.
it would take me to tell you the things that are going on in my head, I could just get it done.
Somebody's gonna analyze you now and send us a
there's
comment.
there's a lot to analyze.
Someone's gonna analyze this and
There's a
comment
lot.
it somewhere along the trail of either Spotify or YouTube.
You want to really
or
get to know
something.
me?
Come smoke some weed with us. Maybe you'll get to know her.
I am a complex human being. We'll just say that.
But I love you.
Yeah, I am like a walking oxymoron. Walking, talking, thinking. Okay, let's go. Let's get this show
You
going.
ready to get the show
Let's
on the
do
road?
it. Yeah.
Let's do it.
This made me really chatty,
Good.
but I feel clear-headed.
That's good.
This is good.
What you
This
want.
is good.
Weed right now between recording yesterday.
I think you've recorded like 5 times this week.
I've recorded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shows in 8 days.
Yeah, it's been
And
a
I've
little nutty.
loved every minute of it.
I know you
And if I can do this full time for a living, I'll be honest with you, I want to make a living at this, so I don't have to go to a job,
Yeah.
and I can do this full time and interview people and get out in the market more. I would. So one day that's my wish, because working with Big Earl, working with Mrs. Weedman, and talking with people and reading, I enjoy this. I don't ever want to stop doing it. So how it evolves in the next, we are coming up on 4/20/24 will be 5 years. The show has been up.
Wow.
4.5 years consecutively doing episodes, though, because we took that 6-month hiatus because of people left me and COVID kind of thing. So, but yes, I love the passion to do this podcast, and I will never turn it down doing it. Sick, I should be in bed sleeping. And yesterday with Big Earl, and today all I could think about is doing the show. So I do it with people I love and for the people I love. That makes sense?
Yeah.
The weed, maybe it's the weed, this orange soul talking, but
yeah.
I don't know.
We both have good strains.
Thank you, Big Earl.
Pretty uppity.
Yep. So, can you overdose on THC? The legend of greening out. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up, because Mrs. Weedman and I, last Wednesday, were at the Split Society
Yeah.
Smoke Sesh, which was another great...
Did we talk about that? We
Not
didn't.
yet. I was waiting for this. It was another great time. Kudos to Spliff Society, to Briggs and his team. There was a fucking DJ there.
Oh, yeah. It was like we were in our own little nightclub.
I'm in the fucking south side of Chicago, well, south of Chicago.
South side.
South side, Blue Island, Illinois, at Blue Island Beer Company. And there's this DJ. I felt like I was at a fucking rave. Mm-hmm. Somewhere like on a three-nighter, somewhere rave, and this dude was the finale, and he was banging. All of a sudden, I was stoned, and all of a sudden I turn around, and I look at this dude, and he's banging. And I look at him, and I just start like giving him like a high five in the air, like, dude, what are you playing right now? And he looks up at us, and I had my briefcase with me, and I was stuffing joints for people, and I literally walked up to him and gave him a joint. And he walked right up and took it and bowed and went back and started banging again. And every song after that, he was banging. Yeah. Banging. And I was like, where the fuck am I? I ran up to Briggs and I was like, yo, where the fuck did you find this guy? I don't even know his name. And I want to follow him around. He was good. He was great. Yeah. So fucking good. And we were just banging along. And it was a lot of fun. Briggs, kudos to you. But the reason why I bring this greening out was because sometimes people do a little too much. They don't know what they don't know. And there was a gentleman behind, and Mrs. Weedman goes, there's someone behind us, and he doesn't look too good. He looks like he's turning
He was pasty.
He was right. And I turned around, I said, he's greening out. Yep. I could tell right now. He had the sweats, people. So automatically I went and got ice cold water.
His people were with him.
They were with him, yes. They were like, they knew something was wrong, but they have never seen him like this. And I ran over and got ice cold water and got paper towels and cold compressed it on the back of his neck instantly and got him a 2-ounce shot of soda. Sugariest fucking soda I can find. He drank that. I said, you need to get him outside to get some fresh air. And I bet you in like 10, 15 minutes, he'll be ready to go home. Let's just put you that way. They came back over to the table and basically thanked us and said, we've never seen him like that before. And I said, well, what did he do? He said, well, he's used to smoking. He's an everyday consumer. I said, what did he do? I said, well, we were at another bar and we drank a couple shots of tequila, and he might have had too much of that. I said, well, okay, no harm, no foul. I mean, he knows what he's doing, but actually, greening out is a thing sometimes with alcohol too. So he could have done it. He could have done way too much. He could have drank something that had THC in it also. And did not know the dosage. And this is what I tell people when you run these parties. You have to understand greening out is a real thing. You can really fuck somebody up. And we saw it firsthand. And what we needed to do is making sure that you don't give people an overconsumption. Just like going to a bar, we don't want bar to drink liquor. We don't want people overconsuming. And then they end up in the hospital or they end up in a car crash. No one's ever died from weed. But there is such thing as a toxic amount of any compound. Even protein powder, you could take too much of protein powder. Protein brow, So you can overdose. Maybe not the overdose of death we're thinking about, but the overdosing of possibly where it'll have some fatal consequences. Or someone can be sick and throw up, or someone can get in a car accident and die. This is the signs that we have to make sure that people don't green out. Overdoses can include, though, on cannabis, nausea, vomiting, high heart rate, high blood pressure, confusion, pathological sleepiness, loss of muscle control and coordination, anxiety, and paranoia. These are some of the signs. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it does. Same thing with drinking too much alcohol. Nausea, vomiting, confusion, anxiety, paranoia. You get angry when you drink too much alcohol. Very angry.
Well, not everybody, but yes, a lot of people.
A lot. So it can be frightening for some people if this is your first experience on cannabis or going to a cannabis consumption party or a lounge. You have to understand, people, the start low and go slow is should be stuck in everybody's brain. I don't care how experienced you are. You're serving me a THC cocktail. When I went to, what I liked about when we went on Saturday, our friend Carlos asked us what our milligram dosage tolerance was, right. And we both said 5 because we knew it was going to be a long night. We were going to go to another place and smoke and probably do some hash and a lot of other things. So we had to know that we wanted to control our dosing. Understand this. This is mistakes in every new industry. This is a mistake in every new thing, concept that we all have to learn and understand. And by this is knowledgeable, reading, listening to podcasts, learning, going to school, whatever it takes, just listening to people. Because you can get to that point where you can get fucked up. I've done it myself. I've eaten too much edibles and smoked too much and drank too much and ended up, I'm going to say it's you're all going to be gross. I shit and puked at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah. Happened once. But too much edibles, too much smoking, and too much drinking. And both happen. Explosion. So be careful out there. Greening out is a real thing. But the parties are great. They're so much fucking fun. The experience of it all is amazing.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
Watch each other's back. One thing I used to
But
do.
you really, it's like alcohol. You have to learn I've had many times where we go to these events and I just want to keep partaking because everyone has their home grow and their special this and their special that and try this contraption. You want to have, you want to experience it all because this isn't a bar. You can't just go anywhere and have the same experience. It's their special events. And so you want to just completely enjoy it. And then halfway through the event, it's like, I overdid it. I can't see. So then when you step outside, and then sometimes I just don't have the ability. I feel like I'm beyond the, I'm just done socializing. I'm just done. Can't talk anymore. Can't hear anybody. Nothing. I just want to veg, and I can't get myself back inside the events. So I even have that experience, and I know what I'm doing. I'm like, slow down. You don't have to do the puff pass. Just have one little puff. Move it along, get a little taste, move it along. You really do have to pace yourself. Yeah. And like they said, this guy was experienced. But I was trying to look up this account. One of the people that we see often in the Chicago scene, the cannabis scene, she has a business. It's a consulting business. And they provide, I don't think they are nurses by trade, but they provide a service to be at these events and kind of watch for that person who's greening out and then intervene, find out, are they in fact greening out or is something else going on? Do we need an ambulance? They assess the situation. I don't think they provide medical assistance. They assess what's happening and they know how to respond. Right. And it's a really responsible thing to have somebody like that.
100%.
It's a great service.
I mean, I went to what was it?
Junior college?
Yes, but no, I went to
EMT school.
EMT school, EMT basic school. So I can observe situations, what I learned from that. And I'm always watching my surroundings because I was in the bar industry for 23 years, management, whatever. I did it all. So I've always have to obsess the area. And that's what I'm always looking around for that reason. Watching people being at a bar, that person's going to pass out. He's drunk or she's drunk, So I'm always assessing situations, just like Mrs. Weedman. She is a watcher. She's a people watcher, though. So she's always assessing the situation.
We're seeing different things, though.
Yes.
Like he can spot a tap handle because he used to sell beer. He could spot a tap handle from a mile away if it was the right brand. He would know everything that was on tap just walking past a storefront. So he can assess things quickly and like this greening out. Like he was gone for 2 seconds. I'm like, oh, where'd you go? And he's like, oh, I got blah, 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 blah to help that guy. I was like, oh, I thought he just ran.
Yeah. Well, we
throw
used to
something
do the
away.
thing called the Skunk Bus every year when I worked for that brewery. And from 2013 to 2019, I did a bus. The first year, 25 people. The last year we did it, over 100 people were on the bus. And the rules were, these were the rules of the bus. 1, never leave someone behind. Never leave somebody behind, especially if they're stoned or drunk. We watch each other's back at all times, okay? 2, if someone's fucked up, you see him getting too out of hand, you see him getting drunk or too stoned, make sure we take care of that person. Here's the things you need to get him: water, cold compress, something sweet, and fucking fresh air. And then the last one is, if this is your first time on the bus, you had to smoke. Those were the rules. And respect the bars we're going to, of course. That doesn't even need to be a rule. That's ingrained. So there was always watching. In all those years, we only had 2 people. One person actually green out. And it wasn't even the weed's fault. It was because it was an Orthodox Greek fasting holiday, and he had not eaten anything for 24 hours. So if he was drinking 11% beers and smoking weed all day, I think anybody would pass out. So that was on him. And then 2, we had a person that consumed too much and threw up, but was fine. We got him in the cab with his girlfriend, and they went home. But from 2013 to 2019, only two incidences happened.
Not bad.
That's pretty good. So here's what I'm trying to say is, these events are special. And don't fuck it up. Watch each other's back. All right? The truth about weed and sleep. Like, I need to go to sleep right now. Right, Mrs Weedman?
Yeah. You want to hear about it?
If you don't need to talk about it, I can go to my next article. I'm good.
I forgot that I have to read. Okay. The truth about weed and sleep. Does cannabis really help with shut-eye, or is it just a dream? I am someone who I wonder about that, right? Because I do use it to kind of shut down at the end of the night, to sleep, and I feel like I sleep like a baby, and I don't without it. So more and more people are using cannabis to sleep. One 2020 study found that this was one of the most common reasons people use medical marijuana. And according to sleepfoundation.org, some 70% of young people who use weed report that they do so to help with sleep. To those who rely on a pleasant high to get some shut-eye, the logic behind this use feels intuitive. After consuming an edible or smoking, many people feel a mellow calm set in, and it helps them launch off to dreamland with less tossing and turning. But there are reasons to be wary of these anecdotal reports, and even of your own experience with sleep and cannabis. If you smoke a lot of cannabis or drink a lot of alcohol, you will be unconscious fast, says Christopher Winter, a neurologist and host of the podcast Sleep Unplugged. So for a lot of people, that's the metric they're looking for. If I fell asleep fast, then I slept well. And if it takes me a while to fall asleep, then I didn't. Instead, Winter says, people should consider, is this substance or chemical improving the quality or nature of your sleep? With beer and whiskey, we know that the answer is no. Alcohol is an interesting cautionary tale of how something can appear like it's helping you sleep, but is actually making you sleep worse, says Peter Grinspoon, an instructor at Harvard Medical School and author of Seeing Through the Smoke. But the question of, does it induce quality sleep, is actually pretty hard to answer when it comes to cannabis. Research is limited, and the answer is, well, about as hazy as Willie Nelson's green room. A study published in January 2021 in the journal Addictive Behaviors looked at a survey data that was using 152 moderate users of cannabis and found that frequency of recent use and the concentration of THC or CBD were largely not associated with sleep outcomes. These types of survey-based studies are not as reliable as randomized controlled trials, but there are limited high-quality studies looking at the relationship between weed use and sleep. One of the most robust to date is a meta-analysis published in the Journal of Sleep in 2022 that looked at 39 randomized controlled trials with a combined total of 5,100 patients. The majority of these, 33 of them, enrolled patients with chronic pain, including chronic cancer pain. Overall, a small percentage of patients, about 8%, saw sleep benefits from cannabis use in these studies. That means you'd have to treat about 12 people with sleep problems with cannabis versus placebo to get one that says, yes, my sleep is now a little better, says Jason W. Busey, one of the study's authors, and the associated director of the Michael G. DeGroot Center for Medicinal Cannabis Research at McMaster University. But even that result should be taken with a grain of salt, stresses Busey. For one thing, his research primarily looked at data from patients with chronic pain. Since cannabis has been linked to pain relief, it might provide more of a sleep benefit in this population. That said, it's also possible that those who suffer from this type of pain might have more intense sleep problems and get less benefit than the general public from cannabis. Some experts are optimistic that further research will identify a clear benefit to using weed for sleep. I've been treating people for 20 years, and I have had a lot of success treating people with cannabis for insomnia, says Grinspoon. There are thousands and thousands of people saying it works, and it probably does, says Benicio N. Frey, a psychiatrist and colleague of Busey's at McMaster University. I think it does work, but I don't know to what extent. Frey is leading a pilot study of 60 participants that will look at the impact of cannabis on sleep in people with a history of depression. Frey notes that one issue with the research so far is that there's almost no data comparing smoking to edibles or droplets, or even on dosage levels, or on the role CBD versus THC might play. The answer to, does weed help with my sleep, might well be that a certain dose delivered a certain way helps people with certain conditions sleep better, not that weed is or isn't a good solution for the average person. We need to be more granular in terms of understanding, explains Frey. Additionally, the study included in Busey's analysis didn't examine how cannabis use influences sleep in the long term. The median follow-up for studies in the research was only 35 days. The long-term effects of cannabis as a sleep aid should also be studied, and there's a chance that over time, those who use cannabis to sleep might build a dependence on it. You may find it difficult to sleep without it if you get into a habitual pattern, Busey says. In other words, cannabis helping you with sleep might become a self-fulfilling prophecy. However, in this way, cannabis may not be so different from many other sleep medications. When you look at medications for sleep, probably the biggest factor in their effectiveness is belief, says Winter, who is skeptical of cannabis's effectiveness for sleep, as well as that of most sleep medications. If you believe the pills that you put in your mouth every night are helping you with sleep and making you perform better the next day, that's going to affect you more than the pill that actually does. Grinspoon believes cannabis carries less risk than common sleep medications such as Benadryl, benzodiazepines, and Ambien, which he notes have been associated with dementia. Also, Grinspoon says, have a conversation with your doctor about the fact that you're using weed to sleep, even if it's a little awkward, to make sure it's not interfering with your medications. When these conversations don't happen, people are left navigating the internet and frequently find themselves on sites that tend to overstate the benefits of medical marijuana treatments. This situation is exactly why researchers like Busey believe cannabis treatments need more attention and funding. Let's get some good studies on it so we can tell patients what their realistic expectations should be for both benefits and harms, he says. And let's start the discussion that patients can have with their healthcare providers, so there's less need to search out the internet and have people figure things out on their own.
Sleep.
Sleep.
I can't wait to go sleep. Is hemp-derived Delta-9 THC real weed? It's all over. Everything you see now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everything, everywhere. It's hemp-derived THCA. Hemp-derived THC. Hemp-derived... I don't care. I think it's great. but you don't know what anymore. And Missouri didn't know what was what either, because they got a bunch of their weed was coming from hemp Delta 9 for a minute there.
Jeez.
Yeah.
In dispensaries?
Yeah, because they didn't know. So what is Delta 9 THC? We know what it is. It's the compound of cannabis responsible for its psychoactive effects. It's what gets you high, right? So is Delta 9 the same as THC? Hemp-derived Delta 9 THC comes from hemp, where traditional THC comes from marijuana. Technically, both forms are cannabis. The difference lies... Mrs. Weedman got up to help Yuki for a second, and she almost took all the wires out of the recording studio. So this time she thought twice. She was going to either hop over it again and wipe out. Instead, she walked around.
I was so afraid I was going to trip. It would have been a mess.
All right, here we go. Sorry about that. Hemp-derived Delta 9 THC comes from hemp, while traditional THC comes from marijuana. Technically, both forms are cannabis. The difference lies in the plant's genetics, just like other produce. For example, Granny Smith apple and a Fuji apple are both variations of the same fruit, right? So, how hemp is derived Delta 9 is made. THC concentrations are lower in hemp, but the compound can still be extracted from harvested plants. The THC is simply isolated after extraction, separating it from more prevalent compounds. Some Delta 9 markers opt for this method of production, but it's not the only game in town. The other way is to create Delta 9 is through a process called isomerization. CBD, which is a cannabinoid prevalent in hemp, is turned into Delta 9 THC, causing chemicals. This is also how compounds like Delta 8, Delta 10, and HHC are made. Okay? Is hemp-derived THC legal? Sip of water. Hold on. Delta 9 THC that's derived from hemp is legal in the eyes of the federal government. Under the Farm Bill, the only rule at this point is that the dry weight contains no more than 0.3% THC. Some people may look at a drink or a gummy that contains 25 milligrams of THC and wonder how it passes this test. Mrs. Weedman, for months, it's been driving her fucking crazy. Okay, so, but if you consider the weight of all the other components, such as sugars, water, pectin, and other ingredients, the THC is a drop in the bucket. It's important to note that some states are moving to ban hemp-derived cannabinoids that have intoxicating effects, such as Delta 9, especially if they're chemically created. The U.S. government may take this issue up in the next Farm Bill reviewed. Did that help out? Mm-hmm. It did? It makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. In some ways?
Yeah.
Still a little business development. Some people call them loopholes.
Yes.
But I don't.
The
because
gray
it's
area.
not a loophole. Because if it's in the bill, it's business development. Make sense?
Yeah.
Stop looking at it as loopholes and start looking at it as business development.
Okay.
All right. Who cares about the rest? So I really wanted to drive this home for Mrs. Weedman so she can understand the difference. So there is a little bit of a hazy future because the next Farm Bill still hasn't been passed yet. They're talking about now 2024. So everybody out there, just know it's legal. It's basically the same plant, just coming from a different gene. Just like a Fuji apple, which made totally sense versus a fucking, what kind of apple do you like? A Honeycrisp. Mm-hmm. It's still the same fruit.
A Washington, specifically a Washington
Honeycrisp.
Oh my gosh, the best.
What is your favorite drink?
My favorite drink?
What do you love to drink in the morning?
Coffee.
So should we regulate cannabis like coffee?
I don't know. This is a very interesting perspective.
Very.
Yes. The suggestion that cannabis should be regulated like alcohol is necessary and brilliant. Science supports that cannabis is safer than alcohol, yet propaganda has convinced society that cannabis is the more dangerous of the two. Both are associated with diminished capacity to make good decisions, impacts on motor skills, and eventual dependence with regular use. Alcohol, like cannabis, went through a period of prohibition that created an illicit market, and many compare the craft nature of cannabis cultivation to the grapes or hops used to make the finest wines and ales. Critics of this analogy point out that cannabis, unlike alcohol, has numerous therapeutic uses and no fatal overdose. If federal law allowed for the production and sale of cannabis as it does alcohol, we may have actually achieved a reality where cannabis and alcohol were treated the same. Instead, cannabis has more stringent regulations, higher taxes, more restrictions on sales, and is being denied a national framework for distribution and a lack of access to traditional financial support. Maybe alcohol isn't the substance we should be using to influence cannabis regulations. Perhaps cannabis isn't paralleled to alcohol, but rather coffee. Huh. The potential health benefits of cannabinoids have been culturally known for thousands of years, but only studied in modern science for several decades. The Schedule 1 nature of cannabis has made it nearly impossible to take the research from lab rats to humans and from isolated cannabinoids to whole plant medicine. Even so, several benefits have been supported by research, including using for pain, nausea, epilepsy, glaucoma, and more. Coffee also has proven health benefits, including living longer, reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, heart failure, Parkinson's disease, and colon cancer. The active ingredient in coffee, caffeine, also has health benefits, but the entire drink of coffee enhances the beneficial effects. Does this sound familiar? And even coffee without caffeine has health benefits, similar to cannabis that is high in CBD but without THC. As for alcohol, while low to moderate drinking used to be associated with health benefits, recent studies have created doubt and caused the CDC to revise their recommendations to say that even low levels of drinking can be risky. When someone loves coffee, they enjoy getting their nose close to the roasted beans and taking a whiff. Smell is an important part of the coffee experience. When somebody loves cannabis, they enjoy getting their nose close to the buds and taking a big whiff. Both cannabis and coffee plants are revered by connoisseurs, partly because of their unique and pungent aromas.
I love the smell of coffee, and I love the smell of weed.
Mm-hmm.
You've always said that too.
Yeah.
I mean, even before you really start smoking
Mm-hmm.
weed,
I always loved it.
You always loved the smell. Your nose would light up when we'd walk somewhere and you'd smell it.
Mm-hmm. The complexity and intensity of the aromas add to the experience and are differentiators for those who pride themselves on their deep knowledge of the products. In coffee, that person is called a connoisseur. In cannabis, a ganjier. And while the wine and beer industries produce experts as well with sommelier and cicerone certification,
Chicharoni.
there is less of a connection with the raw product, like the grapes or the hops. For both coffee and cannabis, the love affair starts with the plant. When someone says they have an alcoholic drink 3 to 4 times per day, every day, it might be cause for concern. 30% of adults in the U.S. who consume alcohol have less than 1 drink per week. On the other hand, American coffee drinkers consume about 3 cups per day, and 1/3 of cannabis consumers in the U.S. use cannabis multiple times per day. The point being, cannabis and coffee consumers are more similar in their patterns than cannabis and alcohol consumers. Coffee consumers usually stack their use toward the first half of the day, while cannabis consumers stack theirs towards the end. Coffee consumers might have an afternoon cup, just like cannabis consumers might have a morning toke. Both cannabis and coffee contain psychoactive compounds, THC and caffeine, and people have variable sensitivities to both of these substances. Some people can drink espresso and barely feel it. Others have a racing heartbeat after just 1 cup of coffee. Some can consume heavy cannabis concentrates and function normally. Others have to lie down after 5 milligrams of THC. People with a family personal history of high blood pressure or heart issues should take care when ingesting caffeine, and people with histories of psychosis or schizophrenia should take care when ingesting THC. For regular consumers, both caffeine and THC cessation can result in a reduced tolerance. Michael Pollan discusses this and possible withdrawal symptoms in his audiobook, Caffeine. Caffeine withdrawals include headaches, fatigue, decreased energy, drowsiness, depressed mood, difficulty concentrating, and foggy brain. THC withdrawals include lack of appetite, mood change, trouble sleeping, headache, loss of appetite, stomach problems, and sweating. Alternatively, alcohol withdrawals include headache, anxiety, tremors or shakes, insomnia, fatigue, mood changes, stomach issues, heart palpitations, increased blood pressure, hyperrhythmia, rapid abnormal breathing, hallucinations, and seizures. Of the three substances, only alcohol withdrawals have the potential to be fatal. Even though use patterns, health benefits, and withdrawal symptoms are more similar between caffeine and cannabis, there are two important differences between caffeine and THC that must be accounted for: the level of psychoactivity and use by young people. Caffeine is not an age restricted product in the US. Sodas, coffee candies, and other
Isn't
items
that crazy?
yeah, are available to children that contain caffeine. Recently, a 21-year-old woman died after ingesting a highly caffeinated energy drink. While we have never seen a death from THC toxicity, there are reasons not to allow minors access to the products. There does not exist a perfect blueprint for cannabis regulation. This plant spent so long being demonized that creating objective health and science-based policy is a pipe dream. The current model of cannabis regulation with a lack of federal legality means all of the rules and an unbalanced market and all of the barriers with no scalability. I'm not advocating for a Starbucks version of cannabis, but rather challenging the notion that cannabis should not automatically be put in the regulatory bucket alongside alcohol, and a substance responsible for the deaths of 140,000 people per year.
Year.
Yeah.
A year.
And 30% of all driving fatalities.
Oh my God.
As the cloud of reefer madness continues to dissipate, let's bring on some common sense.
Oh.
I can so get on board with that. That is a really important read.
Another banger from Green State and
Yep.
Dr. Amanda Raymond, I think is her name.
Mhm.
Unbelievable. Great article. There's
It's
another
great.
one too we're going to read. It's about cannabis and tobacco. Not in this. Another one they brought though to light. Coffee. I mean, just common sense, man. It's crazy. Oh, so there was something passed not passed, but a bill brought to the table December 7th, and it's States Act 2.0, which make the federal government more in sync with states and the people on marijuana. So basically, it's David Joyce, Republican, Ohio, Earl Blummer, Democrat, Oregon, Brian Mass, Republican, Florida, Lori Chavez Deemer, Republican, Oregon, and Troy Carter, Democrat, Louisiana, introduced a revised version of the Strengthening the 10th Amendment through Entrusting States Act. As it implies, the bill seeks to bring U.S. marijuana policy more in line with the 10th Amendment and federalism. The 10th Amendment states the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Did you hear that? To the people. The bill, which some call the States Act 2.0, removes marijuana as a substance covered by the Federal Controlled Substance Act. This means marijuana will no longer be on the Drug Enforcement Administration list of controlled substances. Woohoo! While the Biden administration has been opting to reschedule marijuana, the States Act would deschedule it, a move that this writer has long advocated, and so is the person sitting in this chair has since he was born. It would also federally decriminalize people using, selling, or transferring marijuana if it is illegal in their state, territory, or tribal reservation, and if they comply with state regulations. Moreover, it allows for interstate commerce in marijuana. In general, no state or Indian tribe may prohibit the transportation, shipment of marijuana through the state or the territory of the Indian tribe as applicable, if originating in the destination states or territories permit, as applicable, the manufacture, production, possession, distribution, dispensation, administration, or delivery of marijuana. That's the in general part. The bill authorizes the federal government to regulate and track interstate commerce to make sure the commerce remains between jurisdictions where it is legal. The bill also removes existing federal obstacles to marijuana retailers' financial transactions involving financial institutions by declaring the federal law will not consider transactions that are compliant with the state laws to be drug trafficking, and such transactions will be subject to the part of the Internal Revenue Service Code that addresses revenue and expresses connected to federally prohibited drug sales. The Food and Drug Administration would have to get involved too, of course. The legislation also maintains federal prohibition of sale of marijuana to people under the age of 21. So, several states that have legalized recreational marijuana have imposed exorbitant marijuana sales taxes along with erroneous regulations on retailers. I'm living in one. This state right here, erroneous taxes. So let's see if this passes, please. Oh, this is bipartisan. They came across the table, and with 70% of American adults supporting marijuana legalization, this provides an excellent opportunity for Washington politicians to catch up to the people on this issue. New York seizes 11,000 pounds of pot worth over $54 million from bodega storefronts. That's a lot of fucking weed that you should have let him sell because you fucked it all up anyway. So moving on. Cannabis MSOs get okay to enter New York. So you're going to let that happen. Great. Ruin it even more. High-priced medical cannabis in Virginia pushes patients to traditional market. You fucked up so bad, Virginia, because it's legal. It went recreational, but there's nowhere recreational to buy anything because you haven't passed any laws to get recreational going. So now you're outpricing your patients that you can use that, and they're going to with traditional market. I'm going to just start calling them caregivers moving forward. So because it seems like you don't care about your constituents in your state. So go to the caregivers instead. New Jersey dispensaries breaking quarterly cannabis sales at 206 million in a quarter. Pretty good. 6 governors push Biden to reschedule cannabis before year's end. No, and J.B. Pritzker is one of them because he wants a new gold toilet. Do not push him to fucking reschedule it. Push him to go to that States Act 2.0 that I just read about. Don't push him, Pritzker. Ugh. Illinois marijuana retailers set records for sales in state residents, selling most individual cannabis products in any month since launch. Crazy. Illinois did have a good fucking November. Total sales of recreational cannabis in Illinois totaled 139 million in November. That's a lot. And 105 was sold to in-state. And then 33.6 million was purchased to visitors because it's wintertime and nobody really likes to come to Chicago in the wintertime. But they're going to go to Michigan, though, more often because it's so much cheaper now. I hear even people that work in the industry go over to Michigan to get their weed.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Spend the same money and get twice as much weed because you're not paying all the tax.
Sometimes 3 times the amount. I think medical too. Just the numbers just came out here in Illinois. It's down.
It's down. Yeah,
like 29 million or something like that.
But patients are up. Yeah. Like all the stats were up. I think just each purchase.
Well, here's it: everyone's trying to get their patients to get the med patients to come to their stores because not everything's medical here. Not every store is medical in Illinois, which is stupid. Everybody should be med rec here. It's just ridiculous what you're doing, Illinois, and so a lot of these stores are offering big deals for med patients to come take like 30% off. To come to your store.
The recreational stores offer a discount to
30%. Some stores,
just to get the sale.
Some stuff, and now because stuff is price compression, some stuff it's getting even cheaper. So they're like, okay, cool. And I think you see a lot of patients now too probably want to home grow. I think you get a little bit more of that too. So and not pay anything at all. So. Local Texas lawmakers officially placed marijuana decriminalization initiative on Lubbock's May 2024 ballot. Lack of product variety blunts Connecticut's adult use marijuana sales. Yep, because they're not letting it grow. They're just letting it just... It's weird. Weird. Minnesota's ambitious journey towards a thriving cannabis industry by 2025. Leadership transition in the OCM. Regulatory framework is in progress. Ambitious yet realistic timelines. I think you this was like May of 2023 it passed and you're waiting and I understand you want to do it kind of right, but you could make it do it a little quicker. Legalization milestone, economic potential, pioneering moves by Native American tribes. They made some moves because you can go there and buy some weed. Research initiatives. This is cool. The University of Minnesota launched the Cannabis Research Center, founded by the Cannabis Legalization Bill. That's pretty cool. Utah Center for Medical Cannabis Research aims to better understand benefits and risk. Good. We need it. All the research. Marijuana advocates in Kansas emphasize their efforts. Yeah, because they're pissed because everyone's going to Missouri to buy weed when they should just do it there in Kansas. Dorothy, come on now. Find your Toto and let's go. Cannabis professionals predict exciting and bumpy ride for industry in 2024.
Yeah.
What is Forbes going to tell us?
Well, as the legal cannabis industry entered the post pandemic age in 2023, the downturn that shadowed so many companies gave way to a ray of light as more U.S. markets legalized. A Senate committee had finally reviewed and marked up the long stalled cannabis banking bill, and the U.S. government announced it was seriously considering rescheduling cannabis. It was a very action packed year, but what's in store for 2024? Several industry leaders are weighing in with their predictions based on their forecasts, punctuated by the fact that next year will be an all-important presidential election. The industry may be in for a whole lot of turbulence. For Ed Schmaltz, CEO of California cannabis company State House Holdings Incorporated, the Health and Human Services recommendation that the Drug Enforcement Agency reschedule cannabis from a Schedule I narcotic to a lower risk category was welcome news, but it came decades late. He did express measured optimism that the federal government will take the steps necessary to make this change. We see the implementation of 12 to 18 months as being a bit more reasonable than the 6-month timeline mentioned by some, said Schmaltz. Schedule 3 will be a big step in the right direction, though outright descheduling is a far cleaner path for the industry. David Gubert, president and CEO of multi-state cannabis operator Air Wellness, felt that his corner of the industry will be focusing on the financial health of their companies in 2024, prioritizing cash flow generation while fostering leaner, more efficient operations. If rescheduling and 280E relief occurs as anticipated, annual tax expenses would decrease, allowing companies to pay down debt, said Gubert. This, coupled with the prospect of adult use in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida, has the potential to result in significant deleveraging by 2025. Morgan Paxia, co-founder of Poseidon Asset Management, a San Francisco-based cannabis investment firm, foresees 2024 as the most exciting and eventful year ever in the history of legal cannabis space, while not assuming all will be rosy. Although he does predict that cannabis will be reclassified as a Schedule III controlled substance, Paxia also sees congressional hijinks following such a landmark development, with certain politicians jockeying to seize credit while other lawmakers may attempt to stifle it and impose a ridiculously high 14% excise tax. Yikes. Regulatory changes will transpire, continued Paxia, but not without drama and legal maneuvering. I believe hemp-derived Delta-9 THC products and other naturally occurring intoxicating hemp-derived cannabinoids will be forced into regulated channels, closing the Farm Bill loophole, said Paxia. Unfortunately, we will see no Safer Banking Act progress. Instead, a Garland memo-like protection will be introduced alongside Schedule 3 in response to the Boise Schiller Flexnor lawsuit against Attorney General Merrick Garland on behalf of several cannabis companies, creating enthusiasm throughout the industry. Rescheduling alone or the rescheduling memo combo will result in a new wave of liquidity, a surge in merger and acquisition activities, equity issuance, and refinance debts that will bail out many who may not survive otherwise. By the time the ball drops at the end of 2024 and welcomes in a new year, we will look back at what has been a wild ride. Indeed, it sounds like it will be, so batten down the hatches and get ready.
Good one.
Interesting.
Yeah. International news. You ever wonder how much Canadians spend on cannabis?
Yeah.
You wonder?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So do I.
Do they have all the retail taxes?
They have a lot. They're just as crazy. But don't forget the whole country is legal too.
Right.
So, I mean, among the 5 largest cannabis formats in Canada, flower accounts for 37% of sales. Pre-rolls are 33% of the market. Vapes are 15%. Edibles and concentrates are 5% each.
Only 5% each?
Because edibles, they're packaged so fucked up there in Canada. 10 milligrams per packet or 2 5 milligrams in one big, ginormous packet. And that's it. I know they're trying to fight to change that, but it's just ridiculous. So, Vaping notably recorded the third highest year-over-year growth, reaching 21%, which is behind pre-rolls at 25%, and concentrates leading with 43%. So flower sales increased by 5%, edibles by 6% year-over-year. However, the market share for vapes has remained relatively consistent, moving from 14% in the first quarter of 2021 to 15% in the third quarter of 2022. And vape penetration, that sounds weird, in states like California and Colorado, it stands at 26%. Alberta leads in store density with 163 million stores per million people, significantly higher than the national average of 96. Quebec, conversely, has just 11 stores per million. That's crazy. 11 stores per million people.
Per million people?
Yeah, that's in
Jeez.
Quebec, yeah.
Those stores are making a shit ton of money, but then also a lot of people aren't having access to
Right.
cannabis.
Yep. Flower prices vary
Can they
across...
they can home grow?
Yes. We know somebody up there that home grows.
Yeah, I just didn't know like what the rules were.
Yeah, I don't know how many plants they can though off the top of my head. I have to look it up. Flower prices vary per province. So the overall growth though is 16% year over year growth in nationwide sales. British Columbia leads that with that at 23% growth, followed by Ontario and Alberta. So nationwide per capita spend on marijuana and cannabis stands at U.S. dollars 113 billion, noticeably lower than in most of the U.S. states. So, according to the 3Q23 sales, Canada's total per capita spending on MJ stands at U.S. 113 or 154 Canadian dollars, comprising it 93% recreational and 7% medicinal use. The figure was notably lower than in most U.S. states, a significant observation for the market that's been operational for 5 years. In comparison, states such as Arizona and Illinois see spending at 160 million, while Michigan reaches as high as 330 million. Despite having more stores and generally lower prices, factors such as high excise taxes, product caps, restrictive packaging, and marketing limitations contribute to Canada's modest per capita spending. Interesting. Very interesting in what they spend it on, too. You know? Japan opening doors for patients and closing some what? Loopholes, as it says in this article. I'm saying closing some business development deals. Japan is set to allow cannabinoids and medical products following approval from the House of Councillors, also known as Parliament. This comes less than a month after clearing the House of Representatives, the Japan Times reports. Now that the law is announced, it should be 1 year until it goes into effect. Good. Should be legal there anyway. Russian soldier takes a cannabis break and brutally end up getting whooped by a Ukraine drone strike. Poor soldier trying to smoke a doobie, probably get some PTSD out of him and gets stuck by a drone. Poor guy. Talk about a buzzkill, they said in this article.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man. What do different...
Could you even imagine that?
Oh,
I can't even
seriously.
imagine. Yeah. Like a
Soldier or
drone
not.
starts attacking you.
Right.
You're like,
And you're smoking
what?
a
And you're
doobie.
high. You're like,
Right.
what the fuck is happening?
Exactly.
Did that just happen?
Exactly. Man. What do different religions say about marijuana and its use?
Yeah. How about this? What different religions say about cannabis and its use. With the rise of both medicinal and recreational cannabis in recent years, many people have begun reconsidering the plant's role in their lives and society at large. While just a few years ago, it was illegal practically everywhere, and even the thought of discussing pot in the open was somewhat taboo. Things have undoubtedly changed. For many religious adherents, the idea of voluntarily using cannabis is the complete antithesis of pious and righteous behavior, while others see it as the best way to reach spiritual enlightenment. At the same time, there are countless others who do not see the issues as related and feel cannabis use and religion are not necessarily intertwined. Unfortunately, for most people looking for the definitive interpretations as to their religion's take on weed, it's hard to find a straightforward answer. For the most part, ancient religious texts are mum on the use of it, and they largely do not directly address how it should be handled or looked at. Still, there are many clues that can be used to determine which way a religion leans, and some of the answers might surprise you. From the Baha'i faith to Taoism, this is what different religions say about cannabis and its use. Pardon me. Baha'i faith. Unlike many religions, the Baha'i faith is relatively clear about the acceptable use of cannabis and other derivatives like hashish. It's not allowed. Preaching that smoking hash would only cause the user to struggle to connect with God, making it a poor choice for anyone truly seeking spiritual enlightenment. Leaders also argued that cannabis use was incompatible with living a just life. For the Baha'i, the only exception is when prescribed by a doctor for medical use. Catholicism. The Catholic Bible never explicitly talks about cannabis or any of its derivatives, leaving many people to wonder just how Jesus may have felt about the plant. Yet, since 1992, when the Catechism of the Catholic Church was finally approved by Pope John Paul II, Catholics got their answer, and it's not very pot-friendly. According to paragraph 2291, the use of any drug is immoral and should be abstained from. The only exception is for therapeutic use. According to some theologians, therapeutic use can include medical cannabis if it is properly prescribed, but that is not the opinion of all theologians. Pretty much all Catholic theologians agree that recreational use is completely off the table under any circumstance. This was made abundantly clear in 2014 by Pope Francis, who made a speech at a conference on drug enforcement about his opposition to the legalization of recreational pot. The Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, or the LDS, considering that even drinking coffee or smoking tobacco is expressly prohibited within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as Mormonism, it should probably come as little surprise that there is a strict embargo on the use of recreational cannabis for all followers, too. It's considered a violation of the Word of Wisdom, which is essentially the health and dietary code that many LDS followers live by. As for medical marijuana, things get a little bit trickier. The official guidance from the church alludes to its use being permissible, but only through a prescription. Hinduism is probably one of the most pro-pot religions out there today. Unlike many ancient religions, sacred Hindu texts not only mention the use of cannabis, but it actually played an important part in its history. The Atharvaveda considered cannabis to be a very holy plant that was to be used by anyone looking to purify themselves of sin, sickness, and unhappiness. Even the deity Shiva is said to have used cannabis, which was often consumed in the form of a drink called bhang. Following in Shiva's footsteps, many Hindus continued to use it as a way to gain favor with the gods and become more connected. Due to weed's extensive history within Hinduism in India, its uses continue to be very widespread today. There's actually an exception in the Indian national drug laws that allows for the leaves of cannabis to be sold and consumed as bhang, and the government has a hand in helping regulate its sale around the country. Sufism is widely known as Islamic mysticism. They do worship the Quran, although the movement is very ascetic and widely distances itself from the rest of the Islamic faith, including their feelings on cannabis. Beginning in the 12th century, one prominent Sufi leader, Sheikh Haidar, began experimenting with hashish. The use of hashish soon spread amongst the Haidariya Sufis, even as the sheikh told his followers to keep a lid on the wonderful new secret. It's thought that they began to spread hashish south into the greater Islamic world of Syria and even Egypt. Today, some Sufis continue to use hashish, and there are even Sufi shrines where it is widespread use of it. Islam, as the second largest religion in the world with more than 1.8 billion adherents, while the Prophet Muhammad never explicitly mentioned cannabis or hashish in the Quran, it's largely considered to be outlawed as a substance. Historically, Persian and Iraqi Muslims first began using hashish sometime in the late 800s, and by the 1000s, it was becoming popular. Nonetheless, Islamic prohibition on cannabis began as early as the 13th century. Today, many Middle Eastern countries that use Islamic law continue to have extremely strict and severe policies restricting the use of weed. The only exception, according to some Islamic scholars, is medicinal marijuana. Generally, cannabis infused medications are allowed, but only if they do not get the user stoned. The Fiqh Council did suggest that some level of intoxication is okay, but only if there is no other alternative and the medicine is proven to work. So Muslims can use cannabis, they just can't get high. Judaism is unique among the Judeo-Christian religions in its relationship with cannabis. According to some interpretations, ancient Jewish scriptures like the Talmud and the Hebrew Bible actually reference the cannabis plant. Moreover, many Jewish communities have used weed for both religious and medicinal purposes dating back thousands of years. In Israel, recreational marijuana has long been illegal, but medical marijuana became permissible in the 1990s. Generally, rabbis have held that medicinal use is okay, especially if it is used for pain reduction, while recreational use is not. Rastafarianism. Of all the modern religions today, Rastafarianism probably has the most visible connection with cannabis. Rastas, who often refer to it as ganja, feel it is one of the most important herbs on the planet. Rastas don't just smoke weed, though. They also cook with it and use it as medicine. The use of marijuana among the Rastafari is highly spiritual, and they believe it helps to cleanse and clear their mind. It's thought that marijuana was introduced to Rastas in the 19th century by Hindu Indian laborers who used ganja as part of their own religious worship. Within Rastafarianism, marijuana is revered because of its ability to encourage and stimulate peace and togetherness in the community, and they often use it for meditation. For Rastas, cannabis is a sacrament rather than a recreational drug. Taoism. Taoism and cannabis have been linked together for thousands of years. By AD 100, they had apparently discovered its psychoactive properties. There is something of a cannabis deity among Taoists known as Magu. Magu, which can be translated as hemp, is identified among ancient Taoist texts with the cannabis plant's healing properties, as well as Mount Tai in China, where it's reported that lots of cannabis plants actually grow. It's unclear how many religions have cannabis deities, but Magu is most likely unique in that respect, and she certainly adds to the Taoist cannabis intrigue. Sikhism. While most Sikhs do not partake, cannabis is very prevalent within the Nihang Sikh community. According to the Tribune India, the Nihangs started using cannabis both for medicinal and therapeutic purposes while they were fighting. It helped them to heal from injuries and also made the warriors calmer when they were heading into battle. However, the Nihangs' martial area is well behind them. They have not been fighting battles for almost 175 years, so the continued use of weed among them is becoming more controversial. Some have started to make their members stop using it. Furthermore, the official Sikh Code of Conduct bans weed from being used by followers because it is intoxicating. It appears as if cannabis and Sikhism might be headed for a permanent split. Santa Muerte. The cult of Santa Muerte is one of the most mysterious and misunderstood in modern times. Nonetheless, what is widely known is that it has a very close relationship with cannabis. The cult actually dates back centuries, but only more recently has started to become popular. There are no specific sacred Santa Muerte religious texts that talk about weed, but there are many temples and shrines, and lots of them are connected with it. Not all followers of Santa Muerte consume marijuana, but those who do are known for its various forms to interact with the deity. Buddhism. Buddhism has been pretty clear that cannabis use, at least recreational purposes, is forbidden. There are 5 precepts of Buddhism, which serve as a moral guide for how a Buddhist should live their life. The 5th precept says that one should refrain from intoxicants that cloud the mind. In modern times, Buddhist leaders have continued to subscribe to a ban on weed use. In 2014, the Dalai Lama was quoted about the use of marijuana for any recreational purposes, calling it poison. He did express some acceptance of its use for medicinal grounds, but also suggested that it could lead to brain damage. Similarly, in 2022, the National Office of Buddhism in Thailand prohibited Buddhist monks from using weed, even though the country had just made it legal. Monks could only use it with a doctor's prescription. Shinto. Shintoism is one of Japan's oldest faiths, and cannabis use has been a big part of the religion for many followers. Shinto priests and followers have been using weed for a long time for its purifying abilities. Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest religions in the Middle East. The Zend Avesta, which is their most sacred book, actually talks about cannabis in one of the volumes known as the Vendidad. The Vendidad refers to cannabis as bang, a common name for the drug in Asia, and explicitly refers to it as a good narcotic. By calling it a narcotic, that seems to imply that Zoroastrians were using it for psychoactive purposes, but that is not definitive. And the Oakley Viuha Native American Church, the ONAC, a Native American religious tradition that uses natural substances like cannabis, psilocybin, ayahuasca, and peyote in order to gain a higher spiritual enlightenment. The founders of the church hold ceremonies where they use cannabis as medicine. They are a federally recognized and registered Native American tribe, exempted from laws that make weed federally illegal. They remain committed to using cannabis as a spiritual and medical sacrament, regardless of its legal position. So that is some of these religions I hadn't heard of. So lots of information.
Yeah, lots of good information.
Yeah.
What would you give somebody for Christmas, real quick, before we got to go? For weed, what would you give them?
An 8 decades rolling tray. Was that a trick question?
No, I knew you would say it.
Some storage jars.
Consider the recipient if you're going to buy somebody some weed. Remember the rules in your state about weed. Select your gifts carefully when buying something. Read the room. Add a side of education to it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's great just to give somebody some weed. But think about those things. So, Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
That's the end of the show.
Yeah.
Got anything else to say?
I'm looking forward to smoking some more and this coming weekend and bringing back some more great stories for next week.
Awesome. Hey, everybody out there in the world, we love you. Thanks for listening. Be kind to one another. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.